And we are live. Gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Mecca of Banter podcast. The podcast where, gentlemen, we just keep getting better. Just week over week, we just keep getting better at this. We have a jam-packed episode for you all today between St. Louis City, the Premier League double match week that we had, and then we also have some pretty massive Champions League games to look forward to this week, and we're going to touch on all of it. So without further ado, Andy Hoover, how are you feeling, man?
Hey, man. Another week. Back at it. Hopefully one day this is my day job. Today is not that day. The day job's awesome, so fun, so great. But yeah, I mean, happy to be here. Always a highlight of every Monday I get. So let's rip. Let's do it.
And as a reminder, our opinions are our own. They're not of our employers. So
they're not of our
disclaimers.
Employers. And sometimes we all have differing opinions, but we all have access to the Twitter. So yeah. Take that with a grain of salt.
We all have access. Lucas Winkleman, speaking of a man who has a day job, this man's a domestic traveler. Welcome back from Las Vegas, my friend.
Yeah, thanks, boys. Good to be back. Yeah, they say that 3 days in Vegas is all you need, and I definitely felt that, even though I wasn't at the casinos the whole time. But glad to be back, leaving for Florida tomorrow for the rest of the week. So getting a little sun, but glad that that recording day fell on one of those days I was going to be home. Great weekend from the Gooners. Excited to dive into that.
Thank you.
I will when we get there, brother. I got you. Hey, I'll save it for that part. But yeah, happy to be here. Happy to see you guys. I know it's been a couple weeks since I've been able to join, so glad to be back.
Welcome back. The pod missed you, my friend. And then, Connor Stendobry, a man that does not know the taste of 3 points this weekend, as the other two do. How are you feeling today?
Fellas, we're going on like back-to-back, just overall sports weekend as a whole. Last weekend, not a single, at least the NC State helped me last weekend. This weekend, I don't think a single team that I support. The Cardinals did win one of 2 days on the weekend, so there's one team. But other than that, everything else was just an absolute disaster. It came to an end, though, yesterday. Like I said, I was texting people. I said that Sunday was kind of like my final. We could not let Liverpool beat us to sort of stay at the top of the Prem. Job somewhat accomplished. I'll take a draw. But other than that, a tragic weekend. But nonetheless, I'm still here to show up and dive in. So good to see you, fellas.
And that is something that not everyone can say after a tragic performance, that you're still here today. And last but not least, my name's Henry. I'm this week's host. You can find me on Twitter at Henry Wind. And it's a great week to be a Manchester United fan. We have so much to talk about this episode. But before we dive into all of our agenda items, we want you to know that this episode is brought to you by Manscaped. And gentlemen, did you know that one man every hour, every day is diagnosed with testicular cancer? Testicular cancer, in fact, is the most common form of cancer amongst men aged 15 to 35. And with April being National Testicular Cancer Awareness Month, our friends over at Manscaped have partnered with the Testicular Cancer Society to help spread awareness to men's health and early cancer detection. Visit manscaped.com/TCS to learn how to check yourself for early stages of cancer. And as always, you can use promo code MECCA20 for 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com. Gentlemen, we're fortunate out here that Manscaped is such a great partner. They sent us the Lawnmower 5.0, which is one of their great items that they have. But through the month of April, and again, with that focus on the Testicular Cancer Awareness Month, the Lawnmower 5.0 is the perfect product to be using to check yourself. And what's neat is, in addition to providing the right tools and solutions for comfortable and easy grooming, Manscaped is committed to raising awareness and giving support for fighters, survivors, and families impacted by testicular cancer. And that is why they'll be donating $50,000 to the Testicular Cancer Society. Help save lives and balls, gentlemen, and balls, by going over to manscaped.com/TCS and sharing their funny but educational check yourself video. And while you're at it, grab 20% off and free shipping with the code MECCA20. Because like a famous American philosopher once said, take care of your chicken, your balls, and your mentals. Let's dive in, fellas.
What a quote.
Who was that quote? Was that Marshawn?
You know, it might have been.
Might have been.
Take care of your chickens. I don't know if the balls part was slipped in there, but I like it.
Marshawn, baby. With that being said, from one great American philosopher to a potentially fraudulent South African tactician.
Oh, man.
Hey, how about that?
Hot.
Hey, we're going in hot. St. Louis City drew the battered and bruised and injured FC Dallas 0-0 at home at City Park. Players seem frustrated. Fans are definitely frustrated. Three of us were at the game inside the ground. What are your thoughts on the game, gentlemen? How are you feeling now, being 2 days removed, and what's true for you now?
Where do you want to start, dude? I've been to the City Park now 2 of the last 3 weeks, which we had matches, and I left both of those matches saying that was the worst soccer match I've ever watched. So I don't know which one was actually worse. This one felt it was like strenuous. Like I was physically exhausted after this game, and I didn't touch the pitch. I wanted so much more out of it. Knowing all of the injuries that Dallas had, playing at home in front of your home fans. Nelly brought out the game ball. Come on, that was electric. And to not, score 1 goal was embarrassing. I mean, I don't know. I think it was embarrassing. Burki saved us again. Yeah. Like saves. if you really want to look back at it, they had the better chances the whole game. I know what the XG was. They had the better chances. They definitely could have snuck out of there with 3 points, no question. I don't know where we would be without Roman Burkey. So point number 1, he's the GOAT. Not being able to finish was a bummer, but it's not like the opportunities we had were awesome. Mm-hmm. They were better than what they have been. And I'm going to give a shout out to Tactics with Michael, Chat City Tactics on Twitter. I really, really, really appreciate his inside depth and tactic breakdowns. And we saw a little bit more success from, guess where, lads? The guess wings. Where, fellas? Hey, get in there. We saw a little bit more from and then Salem when he came on at half, and Indy on the left. There was chance creation there. We were getting Klaus the ball. He had shots on net. He had a couple, albeit not clear cut necessarily, but I think that's what Klaus brings us, is being able to score, not one of those clear cut chances every once in a while. And he didn't. I thought he looked better than he had, but like, it was just so stagnant and labored, and 62% possession, and we're gonna hit on Carnell, I'm sure, but his justification after the game was, you could see where we were pressing, we had a lot of control of the ball, we were a more dangerous team, we had more opportunities up front, and he's like, we're always trying, or I don't even remember what the quote he said was, but like, that wasn't enough. Like it just wasn't what the fans wanted. Like, everyone knows the home field advantage that we actually bring, and these guys love playing in front of St. Louis, as they should. We're a couple weeks off of them not loving playing in front of St. Louis, because they have not gone through a Cardinals situation where the output isn't good enough, the tactics aren't good enough, the plan isn't good enough, the execution isn't good enough. They've not done that long enough for a whole stadium to turn on them. And I don't think we're far off from that. I was so frustrated, so upset not to score a goal against just the most depleted FC Dallas team ever. It won that this one stung. This one stung for sure.
Coming into the game, when the lineups came out, obviously Carnell made a couple key changes in the midfield, just from Real Salt Lake, which I understand you sort of want to prove a point in terms of, you lose 3-1. Obviously, you're going to shake the lineup up. But this is it is a Carnell thing. But, obviously I was high on AZ after sort of the way he ended the season. after Salt Lake, he was like the one name that I expected to not keep his place in the 11. Like I could have seen Blom stay in the 11. You know what I mean? I could have seen Vasilev stay out on his side, you know, and Alm not necessarily start. But the fact that AZ continues to be put in the number 10 spot, we've talked so many different times about just what we want to see out of a number 10. And I do think it's that AZ just needs, maybe it's one of those, it's like, hey, dude, go to the bench, come on, be an impact sub in the 75th minute and bring your energy. But like something has to change because, you know, it's, even if I think if we would have won that game 1-0, I feel like all of our collective thoughts on the game would still be relatively the same. Yeah. Like obviously we'd be more excited because we picked up 3 points, but I think the lack of performance is still where we're kind of like, all right, this dates back to like 3/4 of the way through last season. Like we've had crashed out of the playoffs. We've had a preseason. We're just under 10 games into this current season, and we haven't seen an improvement once. I mean, I think and we don't have to necessarily just start calling questions on Carnell, but it eventually has to be asked. And Hoove, you bring up such a good point. Like I didn't go to a Cardinals game once last year because they weren't worth my money because they were so bad. And I think that's how most St. Louis sports fans feel. And, you know, there's obviously the ability to have some dips and flows in the season, but like at least show something at some point. Like even the Cardinals last year had a few chances where, hey, they may go on a run. This year with City, we haven't even seen that, to where we haven't seen a consistent 11. And then when we have potentially seen a consistent 11, there's no performance that's consistent enough to sort of back that up. So I don't necessarily even know to sort of where to point the finger because I'm not sure why Celio didn't deserve to play. I'm not sure why Indy had one of the best games we've seen him sort of play against Real Salt Lake. And then he comes into this game on the opposite side of the field to start the game. There's just so many different questions coming into like after being there and seeing this. I'm like, I don't even necessarily know where to move forward. And I think that's almost a bigger problem than just like, all right, we put in a decent performance. You know, yes, we maybe should have beat him, but instead, I don't even know what to say next needs to change, which I feel like is the biggest issue in itself.
Yeah, and I feel like the big thing is you got to get AZ off the field. You know, I don't mind seeing Alm on. I think that he is the definition of high press, and he actually does have quality about him whenever he gets the opportunity. There was a couple of long balls that he was played in the first half that he brought down brilliantly and played either a one or a second time ball across the face of the 18. That was great, you know? But I think that Indy's got to play in that 10 role. Leuven can play in that 10 role. Celio comes on at halftime and changes the game going forward. Like he actually stays wide. You know, I was thinking to myself, like, I'm not blessed with like a winger's acceleration or pace or, you know, carefree attitude with the ball. But you got to think that he had the time of his life getting the ball every single play. And the plan was just, hey, go run at your defender. There was no other plan other than Celio, you go and do your thing. You know, Klaus was in, then Sam came in. Every big chance that we had in the second half came from Celio, and it came just from like a bang bang play. The best chance of the game, of course, comes from, you know, Sam towards the end, where he's going in and decides to shoot at the outside of his left foot, far post, which makes no sense. I don't even know how you do that. And at no point in the game did I think that we were going to score. And that brings, you know, your point in, Connor, where you say, like, I don't even know how we're going to move forward. That is true. Like, I think that there's a big chunk of our fan base that says, like, just wait for Leuven to come back. Once Leuven comes back, we're going to start pulling strings. And while I believe that he has more quality than the people that are in there right now in that central position, I don't think that Leuven is the missing link to this team. I don't think that the introduction of Leuven automatically makes us score multiple goals a game. But yeah, like I do think that Carnell's job is in the fans' eyes, because in the fans' eyes, I think that he's going to start losing the fan base really quickly. I don't think that St. Louis, from an ownership group perspective or from a sporting perspective, is going to do anything about it. I don't think that they are in the. I mean, I know that this might be like conspiracy, whatever, but like we still haven't even fulfilled that DP position, and it's a money thing, you know, like it's not wanting to spend the money. I'm fully bought into, by the way, of like we have a designated roster, not a designated player. I'm fine with that mentality, but you can still get a guy like a Leuven who is a DP, or like a Nilsson who is a DP that doesn't need to be Antoine Griezmann. Like, I get it. Like, I understand that mentality. But if you think that we're not going to fulfill that DP spot, there's no chance that we do anything with Carnell, at least until the end of the season. So, you know, for me, I didn't mean to be like overly harsh, but going into the game, before the game, like I did tweet on our account that like, if it's not a convincing victory against Dallas, there are questions that Carnell needs to answer. And that's where I am right now. And next game, I don't think that I'm going to be in the supporter section waving the Carnell out banner, but he's really got to convince me, man, that not only does he have a strategy in place, but he can actually like change the game. I don't really believe any words that he was saying in his post game. And then I even look at Burki in his post game conference, bro, and pictures say a million words. That guy, he looks so pissed. He looks so disappointed. It's not even that our defense is playing terribly either. It's just like there's nothing happening going forward. I can't even imagine what it's like inside that locker room at the moment.
Go ahead, Jeff.
We don't. I think you're right 100% about Carnell's job not being in danger, and I think this. You know, it's everything's still a learning experience. I think for the fan base, and we're not. You know, I don't know who comes in, right? Like I don't know who we go get to replace him right now. I don't know who we would replace him with next year. Like
Mourinho.
Yeah, Mourinho, bro. Get that guy. Let's see let's give him the DP third slot and just pay him as a manager. I think that would be genius. We're gonna learn and experience this, and it's gonna be a rough first management move, I think. Because I do expect it to just go on too long. You know, if we're fighting for the 8th spot in the playoffs at the end of the season, people aren't going to be pumped. People are not going to be happy about that. And if we bottom out early, then you know what are we trying to do here? Like what's the plan? The Flutz has a 5-year plan, and I'm all bought in on it. I love it. How many years is Carnell a part of that 5-year plan? That one makes me nervous.
To me, it's the fact that he has the inability to recognize. It's like I was ecstatic to see Alm back in the 11 because I think if you arguably put our best 11 out, everybody healthy, I think Alm is probably one of those wide guys for me. But it's like, why not, if you're going to play Alm outright, play Indy as the 10 and then put Celio out left. And then to me, I know that like he has this infatuation with Ostrak as a 6 or an 8, but like they're too similar of players where none of them like to necessarily play progressive passes. It's like, and if you put Blom in there and you put Durkin, it's like, I'll give one of them more freedom to go forward, but then there's something. Then eventually, to me, it's like Indy has that same work rate that AZ does. So if that's the reason that AZ's playing in the middle, or excuse me, yeah, that AZ's playing in the middle, put Indy there. And then when Lewin does come back healthy, balance it between Lewin and Durkin or Lewin and Blom, and you still keep that attacking sort of similarities up front. Because to me, it seems like Klaus loves to work. But at the same time, like that's typically your number 10 is supposed to do all that dropping in. And occasionally AZ will go on his little, darting press over to one side, and he may get played through. I appreciate the work ethic, but once he gets played through, it means that your number 9 is dropping into the number 10 spot, doing a ton of work, which is a great quality to have. But at the same time, I've said it, I feel like weeks in a row, that we don't put these players in the best position to succeed. It's like the same thing I said it earlier. It's like Vasilev balled out right. The next game, put him back out fucking right. Like we saw him do well. Instead, he comes back in, he's instantly moved to the left-hand side. It's like, that means something to players. We see players in the Premier League for all of our teams that they play on their preferred side. They don't flip-flop game to game to game to game. And so it seems like Carnell is throwing shit at the wall, just hoping that it sticks. And right now, not a single thing has stuck to the wall.
What is Celio not doing to prove that he needs to be on the pitch every single game? Every single game. I'm cool with Alm on the right. Like that he provides a direct threat that I don't think we have on the wing right now. He's also one of the only 2 wingers that we have listed with the club. I love Alm. I agree. I'm excited for him to be back. Him and Salio are opposites. Alm's going to get in behind. He's going to make darting runs. He's going to bring the ball down. He's got great skill, and he's going to set people up for goal. You go to the left side, you let Salio create. He came in 45 minutes, was one of the best players on the pitch again. Like, we're saying it week after week. And 2 weeks ago, last Saturday, I was like, okay, he's played a lot. If this is a rest thing, fine. But then for him to not start again against Dallas was insane to me. Yeah. So, and you can't take Indy out, but it all kind of comes down to the infatuation with AZ and just our reluctance to pull him or change something or try somebody else in that slot. And I will say, I thought Ostrak performed well. I thought he had an admirable match in the role that he was asked to play next to Durkin. I'm crediting this Michael on Twitter guy with a lot of my knowledge here, but he was able to pick up passes in tight areas and get out. He wasn't necessarily super progressive, but if you're playing as that double pivot 6 with Durkin, that's kind of what we need you to do. Control the game a little bit. But the connection between him and AZ, it was non-existent. Durkin and AZ, non-existent. There were no passes made directly from AZ to Klaus. Like, his passes almost always went backwards or sides. Like, there's no turn, pick the head up and find an outlet. Like, it's dribble and into nothing and then pass it backwards. That is the most frustrating part for me.
If Ostrak is picking up those balls in good positions and, getting out of tight spaces, if that Michael guy is referring to the second half where he was doing it at the top of the box, he got a lot of really good shots off, whatever, but he's doing that as like a 10. Like, that's where the 10 picks up the ball. Yeah, it's exactly. Not back in your own half. And so, like, at some point, I'm like, why are we not just throwing Ostrak as the 10? If he wants Ostrak on the field, which obviously he does, why not put him at the 10 and then put Blom and Durkin next to one another, and at least you have some stability in the midfield. So I don't know what's going on with that. I also haven't seen an injury report, but I think that Yaro's sub early on in the game was because of an injury. I think like he at one point in the second half he was like right by the sidelines. He said something to Carnell. 2 minutes later, he's off the field. I have to assume that that's an injury. So you don't know about that. There goes yet another center back injury for our team. And then interesting, I don't know if you all picked up on this because I definitely did not. And one of the guys on Twitter told us, but in the press conference back on the 4th of April, it reads, I asked Carnell about Leuven, who hasn't been doing on-field rehab work this week. His reply, Leuven, we've given him a bit of space. He needs to deal with some things away from the field right now, and that's where we'd like to leave that discussion. So don't know what that means. All that to say is, like, we go into playing Austin FC on Sunday. 3:30 kickoff time in St. Louis. It's going to be a gorgeous day. It's going to be 83 degrees in St. Louis on that day. But Austin is coming off of 2 games back-to-back where they're scoring tons of goals. They're not a great team right now. Like, that team they want their coach out. There's banners in the home stadium saying Wolf out. There's people with jerseys that say Wolf out 24 on the back of it. But they're scoring goals. They're dangerous. And if we can't figure this out, I don't see us performing well even at home on Sunday.
No. And truthfully, I hope everything's cool with Lowen. We're close enough to these cats that, want everything obviously to be great with the guy. But when that's our only information about him, that doesn't sound good. It
doesn't sound good at all.
It doesn't sound good for his availability in the future. It doesn't sound good, like, the way that he phrased it. He didn't say it was a family matter. He said it was issues off the field. That's terrifying, frankly.
Yeah. I'm not going to speculate. I'm not going to conspire as to what that is. But I saw that before the game on Saturday, and I was with Nikki, and I was like, yeah, we're not seeing him for a minute.
No.
Maybe for a while.
City was supposed to be all of our escape.
It was.
Yeah, man.
Like, all right, we're fucking top of the table. Shut up. It's supposed to be the rest of our escape.
But fuck, you know what I'm saying? Fuck. But speaking of top of the table, we have a crazy title race going on in the Prem, and like I said earlier, we're coming off of a double match week this week, where all of our teams got to play twice. Some of us doing that better than others, but we have a lot of games to cover in a short amount of time. But I'll just say before we dive into anything, I'm so stoked for the title race. I think we brought it up on the podcast a couple of weeks ago about how like exciting the title race was. I wasn't really feeling it back then just because I think I was like, City's just going to go through and win and they're just going to do what City does. And now that we keep getting closer and closer, what is it? 1 point that separates Arsenal from everybody else. Like, I think that it's just setting up for a crazy final 7 games or whatever it is. So without further ado, Tottenham, coming off of a 1-1 tie against West Ham and then putting in a convincing victory against Nottingham Forest with a 3-1 scoreline. Andy Hoover, not a terrible 4 points of 6, not terrible. That's huge for your position in top 4. How are we feeling? And how you feeling?
Yeah, you want more from that West Ham match. We saw a David Moyes absolute terrorist ball masterclass with a corner goal and then sitting deep for 85 minutes. So they wrote down the blueprint of how you beat this Tottenham team with without matching them. A lot of times they're just going to run all over you with the ball in and out of possession, and they didn't let that happen. They packed it really tight. It was you just wanted more. It was like you could sense that it was coming, but it was coming the whole time, and it never happened. So that one is disappointing, and I just don't like West Ham, frankly. So you always want to beat those guys.
You know who I specifically hate?
Who?
Lucas Paqueta.
Dude, Paqueta's the worst.
Yeah. Dude, I hate him.
No,
I hate it. He was such a little bitch in that game. In that game specifically, he was such a little bitch.
He is the majority of the time.
He really is. He could have had so many yellow cards in the first half for just stupid behavior, like throwing the ball away and, all this dumb stuff. And then, Mickey van Ven gets one for quite literally one of the exact same, things that he did 10 minutes later. Yellow card. Like that shit really pissed me off. That guy rubs me the wrong way. So, you want more out of it. You expect more out of it. But then you can just bounce back. Literally, that's all you can do. It's like Villa dropped points and, we're like, perfect, let's jump. Not that time. But then they dropped points again. So Spurs pulled it out 3-1 over Nottingham Forest. And you say convincing. And sometimes it's not as convincing to... it's more convincing maybe by the scoreline and that type of thing. It was a frustrating 1-1 going in at half. It was like one defensive lapse. One, maybe two. Chris Wood should have scored a goal. That guy absolutely hit an open net missile off of the side of the post.
Awesome. It was awesome. So funny, bro.
Dude, I was sitting there watching it, and when he hit the post, I was like, oh, no way. He just missed that. So, Mickey van Ven is my dad. I'm going to start there. I love the guy so much. He is my father. He's 4 years younger than me and just an absolute baller. Both sides of the ball, apparently. Didn't know he had an absolute piss missile in him like that. Scored maybe my favorite goal of the year, personally, just from a center back. In the position he was in, 18 yards out, missile, top left corner, keeper didn't move. You could tell he hardly knew how to celebrate. I love that shit. That put it straight.
Fucking rip it.
Absolute missile. Put it in my veins. He just ran around like this. Like there was no celebration plan at all for that goal. He was just geeked to be there.
Those are my favorite though. It's like I'm shocked. It reminds me of the Vincent Company where he scored that goal. He just doesn't know what to
do. No idea. I mean, Nilsson scored the bike for City the other week, and Indy had to shove him to the corner. It's like, dude, go do something. Like, those guys have no idea what to do. So that was absolutely electric. And then Pedro Porro, my other favorite defender. Like, he has a great finish off a Bentancur flicked ball that, Matters kind of set up. And over to the matters point, he produced a little bit more in this game. He's just not been the same since the injury, and it's pretty undeniable. His stats back that up. And you can tell he just kind of is panicky a little bit on the ball. He used to be so cool, calm, and collected, find a pass out. And he just looked like he was struggling with figuring it out. So we were desperate to get him back into good form, back into the beginning of the season form that he was in. He was electric. That's missing. Everything else in the second half was pretty comfortable from a Spurs point of view. But sitting back in the Tottenham title, as I like to call it, 4th place, we love it. We love seeing them in those top 4 slots. And hopefully you can just continue it. It's like we still have the hardest run of any team left in the league. We've got to play everybody who's anybody, which sucks, but it'll make for an exciting title race because they'll play all those teams tight. I know that. We already went to Arsenal and pulled a point away, so I don't think they're afraid of anyone, to be totally fair. At the end of the day, they feel they like their chances against anyone. So it'll be interesting. There's no way around it. Setting up for an exciting finish, and Tottenham will be the kingmakers, I guess. Classic.
I feel like Spurs just did what I heard somebody say it on a podcast that was like they just need to stay afloat for like 2 or 3 weeks. Let Villa make the mistakes in these big games where Villa made the mistakes, and all of a sudden you're going to put yourself in a spot where you're in 4th. Then at least you go into these tougher games in a position to where you're ahead of Villa, and you're 9 to 10 points ahead of United, to where like you can at least set yourself up to where you can afford to, if you do drop 1 or 2 of those big games, you're still in a great spot for Europe.
Yeah, and like I said last week, you got to win these games because you don't know.
Yeah,
these are the most important. You don't know what anything looks like after this. They're healthy for the most part. Richie was off this week with a knee thing. Doesn't sound major, but I'm okay. Sonny's Sonny. I'm not worried about that number 9 position at the moment, but it's nice to have a different kind of threat to be able to go forward there. But yeah, you just do what you can and hope you pull a couple points out of Arsenal, City, Chelsea, Liverpool. Chelsea at least. Good Lord, they play up to everybody's ability apparently, but would love to beat them after the 4-1 loss early in the season.
Is that who you guys have next?
I don't. Newcastle is on Saturday, I believe. Yeah, okay. Newcastle. I can look at the quick fixtures.
I fucking hate both teams.
Newcastle, then Arsenal, then Chelsea, then Liverpool, Burnley, Sheffield, and then that's it. So,
have you looked at Villa's?
I have not actually.
Rest of because I
say Hoove, and I was with Griff all day yesterday watching the games, and then just talking about their future run in. He is, and I bet you Winks might be the same way. He's more nervous about playing you guys than he is about coming to Old Trafford for sure. Like without
I would be.
I think that's pretty fair.
You are.
Yeah. He's in the.
I would be,
down in
and,
the tunnel,
and
remember?
I am. Just I'm there, baby.
You should be. I mean, Spurs.
I got my my VR headset on. I'll be watching the game from the sidelines.
Pitch side, talking to Arteta, giving him thoughts.
I'll be. Yeah.
Arsenal should be like. I think the way that Spurs play and their unrelenting objective in continuing their style, they're not going to be a City. City's not going to adjust how they play, or City did adjust how they played, I think, for Arsenal. Spurs aren't going to do that, and they played them
balls the wall, baby, balls.
Dude, and they played them really tough the first part of the season.
And it's always close. It really is. Which is why I am, I'd rather play United than you guys, purely because of the rivalry piece.
Spurs being able to stop their rival from going on to win the title is like that was us against Liverpool yesterday. It stopped the rival from going on to win the title. It's like you can't. It is a final for real.
It sucks if Spurs lose that game, but it feels insane pulling any points, I think, out of it. Like
That's how I felt yesterday, man.
and as far as I'm concerned, we're going to field the U19s against Liverpool, and everyone's going to be totally okay with that. That's what I think is going to happen.
That's fucked.
Lucas, Arsenal had a good 2 matches.
Great 2 matches.
Both wins, taking care of business the way that you need to in the business end of the season. Give us your thoughts.
Yeah, kind of an opposite series of events compared to this time last year. This, we were kind
Very
of
true.
Early in the middle of starting to drop points here and there, and I think that the way that these 2 games went, granted one was against Luton,
Tough place to play.
Yeah, dude. Speaks to our mentality right now as a team and confidence in the manager. But the Luton game specifically, I don't feel like there's a ton to say. It's a game we should have won on paper, even though we played a lot of players that haven't been starting recently. I don't know if you guys.
Brighton.
Yeah, I agree.
Smith Rowe balled.
He did, dude, and that was so happy to see. Odegaard's goal was beautiful, and that give and go from Kai, but that started with ESR winning the ball back from one of Luton's midfielders in the final third. And I think one thing with him that we've seen in the games that he has played is that he does go balls to the wall every minute that he gets on the field, and you can't ask for more than that. I wish there was a way he could be getting more playing time, but the only thing I will say in that game is in games like that this year, we were scoring, in 2024 specifically, we were scoring 4, 5, 6 goals against teams like that. So that's, nothing to be worried about because we got 3 points, held Luton to 1 shot on goal, outpossessed them in numbers and accuracy. And, I'm glad Martinelli too got some time back. Got to play near the end of that game and as well of the Brighton game too, so I'm excited for him to be back in the starting lineup here soon, hopefully for Bayern tomorrow. But
big game.
Yeah, big game.
This was literally, I mean, I didn't think about this until you said it, but this was literally like right around the time that you all played City last year, right?
Yeah.
Like there was only 8 or 9 games left in the season or something like that. That's crazy.
It was.
Yeah. Very different space. Are you feeling confident with your last several games? Like how are you feeling? Like, I mean, obviously you all in pole position, you continue to win your games, you win the league. Like you're in control of your own destiny.
Yeah, it's weird because I'm almost positive I would have said this exact same thing last year. If I didn't, it would have been something similar, but I know I've said it a bunch this year already, but what's really cool about this year and the title race is that the story itself of it being such a tight title race, a 1-point difference between all 3 teams. But none of these 3 teams can afford to drop any points. And that's been the story. But there are 3 stories within that, right? City haven't won, or no team in the Prem has won 4 titles in a row. So City's got that story behind them. Liverpool's got Klopp leaving in the summer. There's that story. And then us, 20 years or whatever it's been since we won a Premier League. So I think that no matter who wins, knock on wood, it's us. There's something to look at with each of these 3 teams and something that each of these 3 teams are fighting for a little bit more beyond just wanting to win the title. I think that each team, has something deeper. And so I think in our case, we've seen it in 2024, especially. We're more than capable and talented and healthy enough, keyword healthy enough, to lift the trophy at the end of the season. Timber on the roster is the only player that's still marked as injured, and he's due to come back any day now. So, that's something that I haven't been able to say about our team in a hot minute, probably any of our teams, to be fair. So that's just a really positive thing and a really nice thing to think about for sure.
The one thing that is going to become a factor in this title race, and I think at least this week, you were kind of talking about it, but Arteta did it perfect. All 3 of these teams are still playing in Europe, City's in it, Liverpool's in it. So squad rotation and the ability to still continue to winning games and picking and choosing when to rotate. Like we saw City rotate, get the job done. We saw Arsenal rotate, get the job done. in a week where you play, like you said, a massive Premier League game, because they all are, and then 3 days later you're playing Bayern. It's like that's kind of what it's going to be. Is the more these teams keep advancing the competition, it's like whichever coach can get the squad rotation to still get results when you're not necessarily playing your full top guys is what's going to win titles this time of year. And Pep has done that. We're going to have to see if Arteta is ready to sort of manage and juggle what is the bear of going deep in tournaments.
Yeah, and I think that's one reason why Liverpool might be in the best position when it comes to that, because they can probably afford to give up the Europa League if it means, winning the Premier League.
Sure.
Obviously they don't want to have to do that. Similar to how we approached it last year in the title race and being in the Europa League. But if it was to come down to just, giving up a tournament, us and City aren't going to be, laying down for the Champions League in any sort of the word. So I think that, as far as squad rotation goes, if that becomes a worry and a couple guys on any of the three teams start picking up knocks or injuries, that's definitely something to look at as you get deeper in the tournament. But we will, cross that bridge when we get to it. We're in a good spot, though.
I'm excited to see the Champions League game tomorrow. I think if there's ever a time to play Bayern, now is the time.
I'm saying.
But before we get to Champions League, Connor Sandobri, I'm so interested to hear your thoughts on Manchester United coming off of these two games. And for those of you that don't follow this sport obsessively and certainly don't follow Manchester United obsessively, we lost 4-3 to Chelsea midweek. Suspect. And then we tied Liverpool 2-2, also kind of suspect. But Dobes, I want to give you the floor and let us know your thoughts, my friend.
First off, I think I have to say, coming into these two games, I've proven the text. I said that I couldn't give a shit about the Chelsea game. The Liverpool game was the only game that mattered. But in hindsight, in hindsight, I didn't get to watch a Chelsea game. I got to watch bits and pieces of the Chelsea game. Saw us go down 2-0. I didn't necessarily think after 2 that the game was kind of done, just because I know Chelsea as well as I know United, to where we're going to get back in the game. Chelsea are so defensively wide open. United's going to find a way to get back in it. And that's exactly what we did. I don't have as much like tactical stuff to sort of talk through this one because I didn't honestly get to watch and evaluate the game. But I do know that this is probably arguably one of the best games that Anthony's played in a United shirt. The cross that he had on Garnacho's goal was, he finally had a goal and assist in the Prem this season. And sure, it's just going to be a worldie. So it's somewhere deep, really, really deep down in there that he does have the ability to do something like that. So you have to give credit to Anthony. But then just in terms of sort of how this game ended, I think throughout this entire season, and it has nothing to do with Chelsea. The same exact thing could have happened against Spurs. The same exact thing could have happened against Arsenal. It could happen against any team. But when you statistically are winning in the 98th minute and you end up losing a game 4-3, obviously you have to credit Palmer. I know that Henry has his own takes on Cole Palmer, but like the guy is nails, man. Like I always said it about Bruno. Like you have to have somebody that is willing to step up in big moments and hit pens, and Palmer can do that. And then, he got himself in a position to score the winner. So you have to give credit to Palmer. But on the flip side, from United's standpoint, man, it's the same thing I've said over and over and over and over and over again. It's the fucking mentality and lack thereof. And I know that I saw United fans trying to create excuses. Yeah, we lost 2 center backs in that game. Yeah, we lost. We've had 64 fucking injuries this year. I get it. Like, I get it. I don't care. For me, the pen is one thing. We could talk about the referees all we want. Both pens in those games, not a foul to me. Regardless, when it's the 100 and whatever it was, second minute, whatever they scored, and there is nobody marking Chelsea's only goal threat at all. Like, the only guy that can even challenge the goal at all, the only player on their team to challenge a goal, nobody's near him. That's fucking infuriating. And you guys know me and my infatuation, how much I do love Bruno. But to me, when you're wearing the captain's armband, and you have a young center back in there and rotational center backs, and you have the captain's armband, and it's the 101st minute. I don't care how fucking tired you are. Henry and I were talking. It's indoor games. And we're sitting there marking a corner in the box. I'm like, hey, you got there, you got here, pick it up. And this is the Premier League. This is the fucking English Premier League. And you leave the best player on the other team wide open. Like, deflection goal, sure, fine. I don't give a fuck that it's deflected. It's the fact that he's wide open. Like, we did all of the hard work. Garnacho did all of the hard work. I think we probably deserved to win the game overall, but that's what happens. That's what football's all about. It's like you're never out of it. And what we gave Chelsea the highlight of their season. Like, Nick may not sit there, or Chelsea fans may not sit there and say it, but, like, what else would it be, fellas? Like, there's nothing else there you hang your hat on. Like, one of the highlights of my season is beating Liverpool. Like that. Like, that's it. That's probably the highlight of my season thus far. So the Chelsea one is just, it's what we've seen. You know, it's what we've continuously seen. And honestly, it's like the first time that I think I've ever sat there and, like, I played golf yesterday during the Liverpool game. One of the first times that I've been like, I couldn't give a fuck less about this Manchester United game. Like, oh, the only reason I watched part of it is because Griff came over before we went in golf. That's the only reason I put the game on. But with that to be said, fellas, I'm stoked with 2-2. Like, I'm stoked with 2-2. I cannot be happier, especially being with Butch when it happened as well. I don't necessarily know if we deserve 2-2, but at the same time, Bruno Fernandes stepped up and kind of what he does in those moments. And then the kid, man, the kid, like, I don't really know what else to say about him. Like, the ability to take that touch and do that, and for his first home goal, and then the celebration
was a great goal.
Was so cold. Like, he didn't fucking yell. He didn't pull a Mickey van Ven, like, yell around screaming. Like, he sat there and was just like, yeah, I knew I was going to do that. I'm the guy now, and I knew I was going to do that. So I'm happy with the result. You got to shout out Willie Kwambala as well. Another teenager sort of stepping in, playing center back alongside Harry Maguire. Maguire was great. Onana was great. The midfield, again, I'm getting a little bit frustrated with Casemiro. He has been nowhere sort of the level that we saw from him last year.
He was lost.
He's lost. And I think the frustration is that we've seen it from Kobe that he's more of an 8. Like, he belonged to sort of play farther upfield, but Casemiro has not been able to sort of be that 6 to where our midfield still gets run through. But truthfully, fellas, one of the things I'm kind of holding on to from the season is the youth. You know, like, we've seen some kids continue to come through, and we've relied on them so heavy. I know that, like, minutes played by teenagers in the Premier League this season, like, United's first. I know
you guys and then Brighton, I think.
Yeah, and then I saw it was like Chelsea all the way, like, I think we were something like over 3,000 minutes played. And then it was like Chelsea was at, like, I don't know, 200, and Arsenal was like below 50 minutes played. And, like, that to me is just the one thing that,
which is weird because we've still got one of the younger teams in the Prem, but, like, that teenager specific.
I know
is crazy.
I don't know what it is. Yeah, and so I think that's the bright spot for me is these kids are getting a ton of experience, and Ten Hag's willing to give the chances. So truthfully, yesterday in that Liverpool game, I'm ecstatic with 2-2. Like, I'm very comfortable with admitting that Liverpool is miles ahead of where we currently are. And for us to just take points off, and as much as, like, I don't necessarily want Arsenal to win either, I would much rather Arsenal be in first place right now than Liverpool. So to us, that's a win. And to most United fans, that was a win yesterday. And we'll see what we can do the rest of the season. You know, it's just week to week hell.
I thought that I think you're being very professional in not discussing the penalty shout. All three penalties.
All of them.
All three were atrocious. I think you look at the one against Antony against Chelsea. I'm losing my goddamn mind if they call that a penalty and I'm on the field. Doesn't touch him. Terrible call. The one against Delo.
Even worse.
And then the one against Harvey Elliott is really, really, really fascinating because on one hand, he doesn't touch him. On the other hand, what is Wan-Bissaka doing going to ground there, in the box? And what's crazy is no one on the field debated it. Like sometimes, you know, you have pens and at least someone's like, I didn't touch him. I didn't whatever. Wan-Bissaka of all people was like, didn't even flinch. But then we see the replay the first time and I'm like, wait a minute. He didn't touch him. Certainly the first leg didn't touch him. The second leg doesn't touch him. And he's also going down as soon as he touches the ball around. So he's looking for the penalty. It's simulation. It's a dive. It's fucking insane. So it does feel frustrating. We are not the only team that has had bad calls against us this season. Like, we're so far down the line of bad refereeing decisions this season. But what's unfortunate about all three decisions is all three decisions got called on field, and because of how not great the call was, there wasn't like clear and obvious error to where you could have overturned it. Equally so, if they don't call one of those, it's not getting overturned that it should be a pen. So sometimes that's the way it shakes out, but it is frustrating to look at, you know, 1 point from these two games versus what could have been 6 points had those calls not had those calls not gone against us. Again, there's still no reason that you ever leave Palmer wide open, you know, in the 102nd minute. But that's where I'm frustrated as a fan. And the other thing, go for it. Say something.
My favorite thing to come from United's week is just the still photo of that corner where Cole Palmer's walking out to get the box, and every single player in the box is pointing at him. That was peak. That was absolutely hysterical. If I'm a defender, like Dobe said, if I'm a defender on that field, and I'm one of those 5 guys that's not on a post, like a designated post, I was usually a post guy, clearly. And if I'm one of those 5 guys, I'm just going to run out there a little bit.
Totally.
Somebody, dude, that was so funny to me.
There was fans in the stands that have fan videos to where you can see fans being like, "Mark up!"
It's insane.
Nobody.
It's also embarrassing. Yeah, you have all 10 United guys in the box, and there's like 6 Chelsea guys. So even if you just look at the still frame, you're like, the numbers aren't even, you know, whatever.
Before, and I have to jump here in a second, but before I do move on, I just have to tell Enzo Fernandez to fuck off.
Yeah, loud and clear.
To fuck off. 1, because Kobe Manu is twice the player that he is, and 2, because he was yelling in Mason Mount's face. Mason Mount's won back-to-back Player of the Year awards in the Champions League for Chelsea, and I'm pretty sure that I think it's a total of 14 games that Enzo Fernandez won since he's been at Chelsea. So you can fuck right back to Argentina, man. $100 million player, we got one of those for free. So
yep, I believe that.
I gotta go see Kobe. For free. This guy, $100 million player.
One of the things that I will say before we move on to the Champions League, I saw a comment on Twitter today that I found to be very fascinating, and perhaps I'm biased because it's about Manchester United, but all of this conversation about Kobe Manu over the last month and a half has kind of taken the spotlight away from Jude Bellingham, which is kind of crazy to think about. Like, when the season started, everything was about Jude Bellingham, and now the last several weeks it's all been about Kobe Manu. All the major outlets, that's what they're talking about, and I just find that to be fascinating. I was like, damn.
Yeah, it's a little biased, I feel like. Well, considering that one of these players plays in England, where all these publications are, and the other one plays in Madrid. But I'm willing to accept and understand that Mano is an absolute player. Like, he's an absolute player. I'm going to continue to revert back to JP's comment saying that Ben White could play the 6 for United. No, he's not cleaning that guy's boots, frankly.
No, he's not.
And again, it's not even anything really against Ben White. I do have my own personal thoughts about the guy, but in this specific example, Kobe Mano's a stud, dude. He's an absolute baller. I'm not willing to call him $100 million yet. I think that's absolutely insane. But Gem, sure, yeah, absolutely.
I think next year he could get to that status of 100 million. But the last thing I want to say about United before we move on is I want it to be known on this podcast, if it's not known already. I'm so not on the Eric Ten Hag out train I think all the United fans that are on that train are fucking idiots, and they're entitled to their own opinion for sure, but it's wrong. It's a wrong opinion. Because as a reminder, if it's not Eric Ten Hag, it's going to be Gareth Southgate, and that is horrible.
That should terrify the shit out of you.
It's terrifying.
That should be enough for all the fans that are saying Ten Hag out to be like, yeah,
it's
you know
crazy.
what?
The other thing that's wild is I made like a keep, loan, sell list today of all United's players, and my sell list is longer than any of the other two lists like combined, and I'm like, that's a problem. That's obviously not going to happen in the offseason, but that's not good. But Champions League, fellas, we touched on it earlier. Lucas, Arsenal, Bayern. I don't remember if this first leg is home or away for you, but Bayern look terrible. They have been in horrendous form in the Bundesliga. They lost to a nobody team over the weekend. If there was a team or a time to play Bayern, it would be now. Tuchel's out at the end of the summer. There's turmoil in the locker room. It's not looking good, bruv, but Harry Kane against Arsenal, you know, he always has it in him. So how are we feeling ahead of this game? And can you clarify for all of us? Do it, Hoover. Do it. Yeah, stick that pizza in the oven, baby.
In the oven. Come on.
Get it in there. Come on.
Get in there.
Can you clarify for the listeners, is this a home or away game for you? And give us your insights and predictions of this game.
Home game. Which is great timing. Like you said, I couldn't agree with you guys more. I feel like Bayern aren't functioning at their best right now. Lost their last 2 Bundesliga games in a row. I feel like we're the exact opposite in terms of form. And then, you know, we talked about it maybe 3 episodes ago, but Bayern's fans aren't going to be allowed to travel to the Emirates
I forgot
either.
about that.
Yeah, because of the flares they threw. I think it was against Lazio or whoever they played in the last game of their group stage. So all the signs are pointing towards us, which is good. You know, I'm curious to see how, because I genuinely haven't watched Bayern play a lot this year in the Bundesliga. I saw some of their games in the group stage of the Champions League, but I'm curious to see how Arteta lines us up and how he plans to combat their offense. You know, they've got some quick-ass wingers, and Harry Kane in the middle of those guys is a problem for sure with how many goals he scored this year in general. So, yeah, it'll be really interesting, I think. But again, with it being at home, with the form that we're in right now, with the form that Bayern is not in right now, and then not having their fans to support them and chant is very good for us. So I think we take the first leg. You know, we'll cross the bridge of talking about the second leg when we get to it, but I do feel confident right now with this group.
I feel like you guys if you're going to win this game, and for me to feel confident for you, it has to be at least by 2 goals. I think into like a 1-goal win, like it's going to be tough to go back to the Allianz Arena.
Yeah, I agree. I'm predicting 3-1. 3-1 or 2-0. Again,
it'd be huge.
Yeah, we've let up 4 goals in 2024 collectively. Our defense is playing phenomenal right now. We're really limiting teams in, you know, quality shots on goal, and we saw it especially in the game against City that we drew. But, you know, outside of that game, we're scoring goals and we're not letting up goals. So it's a good formula. But I want to say 3-1 because of their fucking striker. That
telling you, man. It's inevitable. He's Mr. Inevitable.
I know. And it might not be a bad player prop to sprinkle.
Oh, yeah.
Which makes it tough in terms of sprinkling that same bet for our team, because, you know, any one of our 11 guys could score. Any one of our 10 guys could score for us. But as far as Bayern goes, I don't think that's a bad sprinkle.
Ramsdale has a goal in him. Typically, it goes into his own net, but he still has a goal. You know, you never know.
He will not be starting that one.
Yeah,
but
dude, the Harry Kane pizza in the oven celebration is going to go so much harder with 0 of his own fans there. That's going to be electric.
If and when that happens, I bet you that's the loudest the stadium gets.
Oh, they're going to lose it.
It might even be louder than after the game, if we end up winning.
He's going to get abused in that stadium, as he should. I mean, that's just what he's done. But that's gonna hit me like crack, bro. I'm so ready for it.
We'll see, but I definitely could see us winning by 2 goals for sure, regardless of how many Bayern scores. It's gonna be a fucking banger, though. We just got to come out hot. Hopefully, Martinelli starts on the wing, so we don't have to put Gabriel Jesus up there.
Gingerbread cookie man.
We'll see what the midfield 3 looks like, but I could see Rice, Odegaard, and Jorginho in the middle, and then putting Kai at striker. I have a weird feeling that's going to happen, and then probably bringing Jesus on in the second half at some point.
Gumdrop buttons, Jesus.
You see, his interview where he's like, I haven't played football with being pain-free in years. I don't remember the last time I played football pain-free, which might be true. But I'm like, just
take a
retire
break,
then.
Yeah,
get out.
Get some rest.
He has been.
I know.
Or he did for a while. It's I don't
know. All 4 of these games rock. They're awesome.
Yeah, they rock.
Madrid City, in Madrid. Funny as it may be, but the Santiago Bernabeu has a retractable roof. They're currently trying to get approval from UEFA to let them close the roof. So in their words, it can be as loud as possible inside of that stadium. These 2 teams have so much history in the Champions League. They've given us some of the best head-to-head performances over the last couple of years. You would think that City has to start Jack Grealish. He was insane over the weekend. De Bruyne was world-class over the weekend, and even Haaland scored a goal. So I think that this one's going to be a really good one. But notable, Kyle Walker, not with the team. I think Nathan Ake is also injured, and potentially Stones. That might be a lie. But again, if there's a time for Madrid to play City, it might be in this situation where they're a little bit down. But granted, don't forget, their backups and their guys that are on their bench are also internationals. They're also great players. But predictions?
This is going to be a classic, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And
I don't think Haaland shows up for this one.
You don't think so?
I don't.
Well, we'll never know what he thinks. He's just, there he is. Hey, did your power just surge?
No. What in the goodness?
It might have. But the one thing that I find to be fascinating with this one is the amount of players on Real Madrid that are on yellows. Meaning if they get one more yellow card, they have to sit out the next leg. It's Bellingham. It's who is it? Camavinga, Vinny.
There's one more midfielder, I think.
But
yeah,
all starters, all really influential players that are going to be really important. So if there's anything that's going to take the sting out of the game, it might be that. And Lucas, continue your thought there, brother.
Yeah, I just have a weird feeling that I think if we could have set up the bracket to give us the best possible Champions League final, I think a lot of people would have picked these 2 teams to play each other in the final. So knowing with that kind of mentality, we know that Haaland hasn't really shown up in a lot of big games since he's been at City.
True.
So I could 100% see him kind of ghosting and not really doing anything here. Also, it's Real Madrid and they're, equally as stacked. So I think it's going to be on the rest of the team. KDB is going to have to really create. Bernardo Silva is going to have to step up. Jack Grealish, like you guys said, if he starts, he's going to have to try and do something on that left wing. So
I think we get a 2-1 Madrid.
Ooh, spicy.
Yeah,
I don't mind that.
Against that.
I think that would be fun. I think that this game's going to rock. It's kind of funny to think about when you think about the other 2 games. To me, they're the less exciting games, and I would still pay so much money to watch these games live.
Definitely.
Moving to Atletico Dortmund, fascinating fixture. Dortmund hasn't necessarily been lighting the Bundesliga up, but they keep getting it done. They're not I don't think they're as good as they were last year. Obviously, they had Bellingham last year, and they almost won the Bundesliga, but they haven't been as good, but they're still getting results. And then Atletico, we just love Griezmann, man. He's so good. He's so fun to watch. And I feel I feel like this Atletico team is not the Atletico of 2013, where they're just like unbearable, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But they still have that. Yeah, they have that Simeone blood in them, and a lot of their guys are playing really well. So I don't know if I'm going to say Atletico is going to edge this one. I think they just have a little bit more firepower. Any disagreement? Any thoughts?
Is it home or away? Do you guys know?
It's home for them. Okay. They're the Metropolitano, and we could definitely see a Simeone masterclass 2-0 here, and then a 0-0 shutdown at Signal Iduna. So I'm thinking Atletico goes through here. I think Atletico wins tomorrow. Again, Dortmund it's not been super impressive, but here they are, right? Like that's just what we keep coming back to. They've won the games that they needed to win, and still a pretty strong side given everything that they've lost in the last couple of years. But I think if that stadium burns down if they don't win this game, frankly.
Yeah, totally. And finally, we have a PSG Barcelona face-off. This could be the year that Kylian Mbappe gives PSG the official send-off. Maybe takes them to another final in the Champions League. Maybe they get knocked out against Barcelona. I'm struggling to see. I mean, it's weird. I'm struggling to see a way that Barcelona wins this like tie. I don't know how they would, but then I also don't really trust PSG either. I think 100%. I think that this might be as far as either team goes. Whoever they play next, they'll lose to. But I guess I'll just say PSG for the plot, like for the sake of Mbappe's going to probably play out of his ass, and I don't know, maybe I don't know.
I'll give a shout out to the TikTok commenter that was giving us shit a week ago on our picks for the Champions League, saying that Barcelona is going to sweep PSG out of the park, and it was because they had a really good performance at Atletico the week before, 4-1 win. They can surprise you. Like there's still so much quality in that team, and you're right. It's kind of just a psychology experiment with PSG and the way that they've been pulling Mbappe at half at a lot of games, and so obviously you're not pulling him at half in this game, and you're not pulling him at half in the rest of the Champions League. If he's gonna play, he's gonna still want to win. So I think we're gonna see him 90 minutes. I think we're gonna see him ball, frankly. So I'm with you. I don't think PSG blow this one, but they certainly have the ability to just lose the plot and let Barca pass all around them. So that'll be interesting. What's that coach's name? Spanish guy? Looks like Butch.
Enrique.
Yeah, Enrique. This will be an interesting one for him for sure, and how he adjusts to the Barca style. And how they use Mbappe is going to be interesting, but I don't see a reason for it to not be 90 minutes.
Yeah, it's just going to be box office stuff, bro. I think if you're a footy fan, get your popcorn ready this week. You have some big games to watch. And with that being said, fellas, let's wrap up here. I want to remind the listeners to get 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com by using the promo code MECCA20. That's MECCA 20 for our southern friends.
Dos a cero.
Dos a cero. So Mecca 20, like I said the first time, you can get 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com. Check us out on all of our socials, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter. Extremely active. And with that being said, fellas, cheers.
Yeah, I apologize to Justin on Twitter for some of the tweets that I sent out this week. Personal public apology. They weren't really that bad. It was just, little aggressive, little caught up in the moment, maybe at the time.
I think we were displacing our anger.
We were. It wasn't just
footy's an emotional game.
I appreciate Justin's coverage of the team. I thoroughly do, and he gives me a lot of our news. So shout out,
couldn't
my man.
do it without him. Shout out, Justin.
Nope.
One time.
Cheers, fellas.
Yeah, boys.
Cheers, boys.